Mhm. Hello and good evening, everyone. Give me 1 minute. I'm connecting to the system as well. Sorry, some technical issue. Hello and good evening, everyone. This is Ankit. I'll be your trainer for the day. Let me begin with the motto of our session. Please note that no question is silly. So whatever question you have with respect to the concept that we are undergoing, please feel free to put it in the chat. I have one request, and this is for all the sessions that are taken for all the students, that see, we will set up a process of resolving the doubts, but I would request everyone of you to stay on mute until unless I request you to go on unmute or share your screen. And whatever questions we have, whatever doubts we have, given that it's not a very long doubt, if you can please put it in the chat. I would say avoid Q&A, please put it in the chat as well. And if there's a question that you want to speak up, then just raise your hand, and as and when the time permits, we'll reach out to you. Second thing is, please let me know if my voice is loud, audible, and clear. Let me know if my voice is loud, audible, and clear. Yes, great. Okay, so Innovit. I think we took the first basics. Okay, so today class, I know that a lot of you would be aware about that we are going to go with control loops and functions, but I'm going to make a slight change. What I believe is, let's first go with the inbuilt data structures in Python. The reason is, when we do loops and functions, your control statements, everything, I would want to use these internal data structures so that we can connect. So today what we are going to do is we are going to begin with the inbuilt data structures in Python. And for that, I would request all of you to please open a new notebook. We'll open a new notebook. Most probably we are going to call it as, let it open. I'm going to call it as inbuilt data structures. Fine, give me 1 sec. Let me also get hold of a couple of things. Give me 1 second. This seems to be an issue. Okay. All right. I have it here. Let me just restart my Jupyter. Give me 1 second. All right. Where is Innovit? Why don't I see? Okay, cool. Can everyone see my screen? Let me know if everyone can see my screen. Cool. Great. Okay, so the second thing, my voice should be loud, audible, and clear. Let me know throughout the session if there is an issue with the voice. At the same time, I would request everyone to please keep the volume of your speaker to a max. And third thing is, if I keep dropping off due to bad internet or power issues, please be patient. I'll be back within 30 to 60 seconds once my power backup kicks in. All right, so class, yesterday we would have seen some data types. Have we seen integer and we have seen strings? We would have also seen at some of the inbuilt functions which are available in strings. Similarly, what we are going to do is we are going to look at a new data type today, and that data type is called as a list data type. Now, string, list, tuple, set, dictionary, these are the 5 data types that if I tell you, these are called as sequential data types. So why are they called as sequential data types? Let me write it down here. Sequential data types. Which are these? These are your string, which we have already looked at. Then we have your list, tuple, sets, and dictionary. So these are the inbuilt data structures. These are the inbuilt data types rather, and list, tuple, sets, and dictionary are called as the inbuilt data structures. These are the structures which are used to store different types of data. Now, these structures, what are they? How do we define them? How do we use them? We are going to look at this throughout this session. And we are also going to see some of the functions associated with these particular data structures. So let's begin with list. Now, class, what will happen is you will be introduced to a lot of brackets. I would strongly recommend that every one of you, please try out all the codes that we are going to do. The best way to learn any programming language is by implementing the hands-on, by writing down your own codes. It will also create a document for you, which you can refer to at any point of time in future. So let's do this. We'll continue yesterday's strategy as well. With the same strategy as yesterday, what we are going to do is, while I'm explaining, I would want everyone to pay attention on the screen, and I'll give you 1 minute, 2 minutes to write down your own codes. Right? Now, let's begin with what is a list. List, like arrays, are nothing but they are the collection of objects, and they are basically, if you look at any technical definition, you will see that they are an ordered collection of objects. Now, the basic difference between a list and an array. Let's understand the difference between the list and an array. See, array can contain elements of the same type. Whenever you talk of an array, it will always contain elements of the same type. So let's say if I open a whiteboard, and let's say if I have an array, right? So what will happen, class, is the array will always, let it load. Now, when you talk about an array, this is the array that a lot of you would have seen. Let's say I have an array of even numbers. So 2, 4, 5, so 2, 4, 6, and then we have 8 and 10 and so on. So what is this? What will be the data type of the elements stored in this particular object class? What is the data type of the elements which I have stored? I'm going to call it as, let's say, A. A refers to this particular thing. This is int. That's it. So when you say int, it means that all elements are of the same type, and that is it. But the moment you introduce elements of different data types. So let's say, let me say I have an element which is called as 1. Let's say I have 2. Then let me use a string, Python. Then let me have 3.14 as one of the numbers. Now, the moment you see these kind of elements, now there are 3 different types of elements which are present in this particular object. What are these? The first 2, I can call them as integers. Then in between, what I have is a string. And finally, what do we have is called as a floating point number, or in terms of Python, the data type is float. That's right. So What does this? It means that this object that we have created can contain elements of different data types. And whenever you have elements of different data types, what do you call such an element? Such an element is called as list. So list, which I said is an ordered collection of elements. What is order? We'll come back to. Don't worry. What is order? I think we have looked at indexing. The same concept of indexing will also be applicable for list, but we will look at the theory and we'll also try to perform indexing in list. So ordered collection of objects, when I say ordered collection of objects, it's not saying of what data type. It means that you can have any data type present inside two square brackets and Python will treat it as a list. So let's do one thing. Let's go back to our screen. Let's go back to our screen and see what are the different data types. Let me share my notebook back. Yes. So array contains elements of the same data type, but list, on the other hand, if you look at lists, your lists can contain elements of any data type. So see, I can define a list of all integers. I can define a list with a mix of integers, string, float. I can do anything, right? And how do you define a list? Please remember that a list is always defined in square brackets. So going forward, whenever you see some collection of objects within square brackets, you know that you have defined a list. So let me create a first list, list1 is equals to, and within square bracket, I am going to create a list with certain numbers. So let me start with a very simple list. And let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the reason I don't want to give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is let's create a list with 1, 2, 3.3, and let me add Python. Let's go with this. So the moment I do this, if I execute and I print this, you will see that in square brackets, I have some elements which are printed. Now, can someone tell me what is the function that we use to check the type or the data type of an object? Anyone remembers? We would have seen it yesterday. Anyone remembers how to check the type? Yes, that's right. Perfect. So you can go and see type, list1. So what it should give me? It gives me list. Now, what is list? Why did it give me list? If you look at an integer, it would have given me an integer. If you look at a string, it gives me a string. When you do it for a list, it will give you a list because list is an inbuilt data structure. It's an inbuilt data type for Python, right? Similarly, I would want everyone, let's quickly define this list, declare this list. List1 is equals to have anything that you want, 1, 2, 3, 3.3 Python, and check its type. And if you're done, I would want you to check the length of that list and let me know what does length give you. In case of a list, what will length give you? Let me know once done. Let me know once done. So Lakshmi and Vinay, we have you too. So let me know once both of you are done. There was one more student, I think. The length is giving us 4. That's right. If you look at length, the length function in this case will give you number of elements which are present inside your list. So if I check length of list1, it gives me 4, indicating the total number of elements. So each element, it's giving me the total number of elements that I have inside the list. In case of string, if you remember, it would have given me total number of characters within the 2 quotes. So length function, which is a universal function, when I say it's an inbuilt universal function, it means that it's applicable to all the objects. And when you apply it on different objects, you get different results. All right. Now, after that, I want both of you to come back to the screen, please. We'll do what? We'll look at some of the functions. Now we see that if I type list one, see, I'm going to type list one again and again so that I can showcase it to you. So you see list one, currently the length of list one is 4. Now what I'm going to do is append an element. Now appending an element means I am going to add an element at the end of the list. Now we would have discussed that Python is a high level programming language. So in order to append, the function that we have is on list one, I want to append an object. So the name of the function itself is append. So what I can do is, let's say I'm going to append Bangalore. Now, the moment I do this, let's dissect the code again. List one dot append Bangalore. So what does it mean? On list one, I want to perform a function called as append. Append is a function that will take as input one value. Now see, it's not necessary that it should always be string. It can take any value that you want to pass as an element to this list. The moment I do this, let me print list one. You see that your list one has added a value Bangalore. If you do append 5, it will append a value 5. So what does an append function do? Append function will append or add the value at the end of the list, whatever value you give as input. Now, if I check again the length of my list one, the number of elements have increased and number of elements have been increased from 4 to 5. We have 5 elements which are present. Let's quickly try out append. You can try to append an integer as well. Try to append a string. First, print the list, then append string, print the list. Let's try that. I want you to append anything list one dot append. Once you do a string, I want you to append any number. I'm going to append 5. I'm going to print list one. And I have 6 elements at the moment. So what we need is a list with 6 elements. Let me know once that is done. And let me know in case you have any question as well, class. All right. If you have a question, feel free to raise a hand. Feel free to put it in the chat. If you're getting any error, your code is not running, let me know that as well. Let me know once done. Let me know if you're facing any issue. Or let me know if you have any question. So Vinay, see what would have happened is you would have executed the code twice. So if you execute the code twice, what will Python do? For Python, it's a different instruction. You execute it twice, Python will add 2 times the same value. Right? It is possible that you would have executed twice, and that in that case, you always get the value added 2 times. Don't worry. Yeah, don't worry. The next function is removal. The next function that we are going to see is how to remove an element. Okay, so now one thing with respect to your append functions, and in fact, this holds true for all list functions, is Once you make a change, you see here, see, you remember yesterday when we were doing string functions, I said the internal object does not get modified. If you remember, we would have seen a function string.replace Python to Java, and I would have said that the actual object does not change. The internal object is not modified. However, in case of lists, the internal object will be modified. So once you make this change, if you execute it twice, your list is modified. Right? Now, a hack is you go back to your original code, execute all your codes once again. Right? If you rerun this code right from here, everything will be executed again. But if you have executed it twice, don't worry, the next function is something which we are going to see. That's called as removal of an element from the list. Let me share my Excel. Let me share my Excel and let's see where we have an empty sheet. Let me create a new sheet for you. Now, let's see 10. Let me create a list. And what I'm going to do is for our simplicity, I'm going to create L1 and I'm going to say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 are the elements which are present. And let me add one more, 60. Cool. Now we are going to look at a concept called as index. I think we have already discussed the index in the last session for string. Similar to string, indexing in Python, this is something which you should never forget. Indexing in Python always starts with what class? What will it start with? 0. That's right. It will always start with 0. So your elements which are present. Now, see this. I'll show you something. There are 6 elements present. The length of the element is what? My length of the element is 6. Now, what I'm saying is my last index will be what class? What will be my last index? My last index, because my indexing starts with 0, it will always be length minus 1, indicating that my last index is 5. Does that make sense? See, your indexing always starts with 0. So you say that at index 0, you have 10, at index 1, you have 20, and so on. Yes, but what happens is if your length of the element is 6, because your indexing starts with 0, your last index is always 1 less than the length, that is length minus 1. So same thing happens for list, same thing happens for tuple. If everywhere you start, every object that you look which has ordered collection of elements, you will see that indexing always starts with 0. Now there's a function that we are going to look which is called as pop. What does pop do? Pop will take as input the index number. It will take the input of index number and it will remove the element at that particular index. So L1.pop3, what it will do is it will go to the list, look at what is the index value. So what is the index which is given as input? 3. So it will go to the list, look at what value you have at index 3 and it will remove the corresponding element. So in this case, what will it do? It will remove the element 40. Now class, be very careful. The moment I execute this, what happens is, see, this is what is going to happen. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say remove this particular code. It will remove the particular code. And see, it does not remove the index. Please see that it will not remove the index. Rather, it will only remove the element at that index. And what will happen is 50 will come here, 60 will come here, and the other elements will stay as it is. So what will happen now? This, once you remove the element at index 3, I said it will remove the element at index 3. It will not remove index 3. It will remove the element at index 3. So now what will happen? You will have the same indexes, but in case of index 3, now you have a new element which is called as 50. Right? Your elements have shifted correspondingly. Does that make sense? Yes. So that is why when you are deleting at one point of time, you will only delete one element. Because the moment you delete one, right, there is a shift in the indexes, there is a change in the index values. Now, again, if I execute again the same code, in fact, if I execute pop3, now what will happen is you have the same element, but now here what I have in your index 3 location, what you have is a new value which is called as 50. This value will be removed. The indexes will reshift, and here you will have 60. This will remove completely. This is how your new list will appear like. May I repeat? Do I need to repeat or is it clear, class? Let me repeat once. Whenever you are removing an element, pop is a function that will take as input an index value. What does pop do? It goes to the list and it looks at what value you have at that corresponding index. So if I do list.pop3, my Python will go inside list, find out the element at index 3 and remove that element. It will not remove the index. The indexing will stay as it is. What will happen is the elements will shift. Now at index 3, you have a new element. Right now at index 3, you have a new element. Similarly, what will happen is if you have delete again this, if you execute the same code again, list.pop3. Now at the current location, index 3 has the value 50. So 50 will be removed, 60 will shift to index 3, index 4 will be removed. So the indexes will automatically shift, and that is why you have to be very careful once you are removing the element. Also class, once you remove the element, please execute the code only one at a time. If you keep executing it again and again, you will see a weird result. So let's say now I want to remove list1 dot pop, right? And I want to remove an element which is 3.3. So what will be the index for 3.3 class? What will be the index? Can someone tell me? Subha, anyone can tell me what will be the index for 3.3? 2. That's right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the value 2. The moment I do this, see, it will also return the value which has been removed. And you can print the list 1 again and see that 3.3 has been removed. It is going to modify your object. So pop, the function does what? Let me write it down here. Pop will remove an element at the given index. Now what I want you to do, class, is I want you to try this, and let me tell you that pop does not necessarily take an element. If you do not give any index, which index or which element will it remove? Try it out. Come on. I want you to try out the pop function first by giving the index value. Vinay, now what you can do is you can remove that additional element that got added because of double execution. And at the same time, what I want you to do is, after this, I want you to execute the code list1.pop without any index value and let me know what it does. And then I'll add the comment by default, pop removes the, that you have to tell. What does it do? Last element got deleted. That's right. That's perfect. Perfect. Subha, Rohini, did you try it out as well? Subha, Lakshmi and Rohini, were you able to try this out? By default, if you do not provide any index value, pop will remove the last index by default. So if I execute this, you will see that 5 will be deleted. That's right. Vinay, if you are done, try out giving an index which is not present in this list. Give an index such as 6, 7, 10, 100, an index which is not present in this list. At the moment, I have 3 plus 2. I have value still index 4. I want you to give an index which is not present in the list. Give a larger index. If you give a larger index, the index which is not present, let's say 100. That will give you an index error. That's right. It will give you saying that the pop index is out of range. Indicates that from the list, you are trying to delete an element which is present at index 100, but the list in itself does not have an index 100. That's right. It will not have an index 100. So with respect to pop, what it does, it will remove an element at the given index. If you do not give the index, It will remove the element at the last index, but you have to be very careful with it. Once removed, you cannot get that element back. And if you try to remove an element by giving an index which does not exist in the list, you will get an error. So I'll leave this for your reference. I'll leave this for your reference. And what we are going to do is we are going to look at a new function which is called as reverse the list. So as Python is a high level programming language, if I have to reverse a list, I will simply use a function called as reverse. And it will do what? If you check list one, it would have reversed your list. We had 1 2 Python Bangalore, it's gone to Bangalore Python 2 1. So reverse is the function that will reverse all the elements of the list. In case a program runs in loop, how to overcome? Vinay, is your program running in a loop or is it gone into a permanent execution? Here you see star. Is that what you see? If that happens, you can run this code. You see here, you have a square button. Are you using Google Colab or are you using Jupyter Notebook? Actually, you can unmute. That's okay. You can unmute.
Yeah, actually, I'm using Google Collaborator.
Google Colab should have a stop button. Let me.
Indra?
Your code ran into infinite loop.
Nothing like that. Just I thought of checking is there any possibility to overcome
Yes.
at the time by
Yes.
mistake, and if we do.
Okay. So you see this button, interrupt the kernel. Here, the
Yep.
black stop. One is this in Jupyter Notebook. Similarly, in Colab, let me see how does the button look like. I rarely use Google Colab, so things keep changing there. Give me one minute. So here, if you see, let's say if there's an execution going on, I think here itself it goes into square. There is what you can execute. So you see, you can stop
Yep.
right there. Cell is already running. No, that's not it. Then it's not yet connected as well. Run time, I'm not sure. I'll get back to you with this stuff because
Yeah,
in
it's fine. It's
Jupyter,
fine. Generally, I'll use a Jupyter only, but it's taking too much time for opening it. So I'm using Google Colab for easy use
all
for
right,
practice.
that's fine. That's fine. But I'll get back to you. It's a good question how to stop. I think in runtime you have okay. Interrupt execution.
Okay. Control M.
Yes. Control M I. Control M will restart your session. Control M I will interrupt your execution.
Sure.
Uh,
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
All right. With that, let's go back to our reverse. So class, I think we were talking about reverse. Let's go and reverse a list. List one dot reverse. It will reverse all the elements. Now what you see is that the elements have reversed. Now at index 0, you have Bangalore, and at index last, which is in my case, it is 3, you will see 1. And initially the list was 1, 2, Python and Bangalore. Let's quickly try out reverse and then we will create a new list. All right, Rohini and Subalakshmi, let me know if you have any questions, any doubts. If you're stuck anywhere, feel free to put it in the chat or you can ask, raise your hands. No, all right, good. All codes running perfectly fine. Good to hear that. If you are done, I want you to define a list two. Great, great. List two, and I want you to define this list with some random numbers in a random order. Okay, if you are done, I want you to define a list two in a which consists of only numbers and in a random order. All right. Now, class, what we are going to do next is we are going to create a function to sort the values inside the inner list. Now, before we do that, I'll tell you the function. Function is obviously going to be list1 dot sort. But when I run this list1 dot sort, you will see that we run into an error. It says that less than is not supported between instances of integer and string. The reason is that this function is only applicable on sort function is only applicable on lists. Sorry, arrays. What I mean is it's only applicable on lists which have similar data type. And that makes sense, right? Because see, if you have a mixed data type, we don't know how to provide, or Python will not understand what is sorted first. Do you need to sort strings first? Do you need to sort numbers first? And list is an ordered collection. See, the order in which values are stored in a list is it's let's say the most important USP, right? It's the selling point. So you cannot determine what to sort on the basis of what element should I sort first if there is a mixed element list present. So sorting is a function that is applicable on lists which have the same elements. So that is why I told you to define a list which will have numbers but in a very different order. Once you do that, you will see that if I apply my sort function list1 dot sort, you will see that list2 dot sort. Sorry, if you see list2 dot sort, you will see that your list will be sorted in ascending order. Right? So once again, you have to sort the values in a list. If you try to apply the sort function on a list with mixed type elements, you will get an error saying that less than is not supported between integer and string. Right? But if you apply it on a list which has all elements of the same type, you will see that list2 in this case has been sorted in the reverse, or it has been sorted in the ascending order. Let's quickly try this out. List2 dot sort and list1 dot sort. If you are done, then I would say define another list3 which has random sequence of alphabets. I would want you to define one list so that you can see that it will work not only on numbers, but it can work on characters as well. What you need to do is you need to define, let's say E, and let me say N, then A, and then Z. I can apply my sort on this list as well. Let me call it as list3. So sort will work on any type of element. The only catch here is that all the elements should be of the same type. If you have a list with all integers, you can apply a sort. If you have a list with all characters, you can apply a sort. If you have a list with all strings, you can apply a sort, and so on. Print list3, and then I see list3 dot sort. It will successfully sort in the ascending order of my characters. And please observe that once a list is sorted, you will see that the internal object has been modified. You see that lists here have been modified. Now you guys should have a question in your mind. I'm waiting for that question. If you don't ask, I will give you that question. L3 is ETA, L3 dot sort, you should get AET. It's not showing error. Yeah, it will not show error because all the elements now are of the type string. right? It should see all your type of elements which are present inside the list should be same. It can be all strings, it can be all numbers. But you mentioned, can you unmute? Can you unmute? Let's
Yeah.
discuss. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I mentioned like check that beside of T I kept comma and I closed with colon and then I kept comma and I added a.
See, you say L3 is equals to, you have given E,
Yeah,
which is this E inside a quote? Yes, it's a string. Then inside this, you give anything. It's
anything
a
comma.
string. It's a string. Anything and everything inside a single or double quote will be treated as, right? And then let me give any characters, any numbers, anything. Everything will be treated as a string. Now, if I do L3 dot sort, see, it will still work. Why? Because these are all strings.
Yeah, data type is correct, but how can it order like mention is an order like seven is an integer like alphabets means A E M you mentioned and there it we can identify A is the first coming one next E and next M and like sorry
Yeah.
like above MENAZ you mentioned for that it recognized as alphabets and it automatically printed in order wise A E M and Z but when it comes to in this string you mentioned E and next some combination of strings and integers next completely it starts with integer then how it will identify and sort.
Okay. Now, to answer your question, your answer lies in a concept called as ASCII characters. See, do you know ASCII characters? Do you know
uh,
the list of ASCII characters? Okay, let me Google this up.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead. Go ahead. Tell me. You were saying something. Vinay. Do you know ASCII characters?
A equal to 69 or something like that.
Correct. That's right. So this is the ASCII character list. This is very weird. Let me open a proper one. Right. 0, 1 is null. Okay. So can you see this
How?
screen? Can you see this?
Yeah.
Right. Let me open this website. So what happens is when you have given everything as a string, Python will internally try to sort it on the basis of the ASCII characters. Your
Okay.
A has capital A is 65, your small a is 97. That is why what it will do is it will first give capital A and then small. Similarly, your number one has an ASCII character which is greater than the AND character. Does that make sense? So when you have all strings, it will take into consideration their ASCII value and it will give you the output. See, your AND has the ASCII value of 38. So it took A, and your 1 has the ASCII value of 49.
49. Yeah.
Yes, capital A has 65 and your small a will have 97.
Yeah.
So when you but the only thing is that you should have everything as a string. This rule is applicable. It will go to the ASCII values only when everything is a string.
Yeah. I got it. I got it. Actually, I missed. I mean, I forgot the task value theory. No, I understood. Thank you.
Oh, it's great. So with that, one question that should have come into your mind is class that how this is always sorting in an ascending order. What if I want to sort it with a reverse order? What if I want to sort it in the descending order? So if I want to sort these things in the descending order, what I want to do is what I want to do is I will always give, let's see what was our list one. Let us go back to our list two rather. List two was 0, 1. Okay. Now I want to sort this list in the exact once I can do reverse, but instead of doing reverse, what I'm going to do is list do dot sort, but it will take as parameter one thing called as reverse. Okay. And the value of reverse is true. Now please note in Python, your true will always start with an uppercase T. This is how Python understands that you are meaning something is true. Otherwise, if you use small t, it will give you an error. If you use everything as capital, it will give you an error. The keyword, which is a word that Python understands that its meaning is true, is starting with capital T. Even stands true for false. If you want to give something as false, you will always start with capital M. Now, if you give reverse equals to true and then print your list, you will see that the list has been reversed. It has been sorted in the ascending order. It also means one more thing, class, that the default value of reverse is false. If you do not specify any reverse value, it means it will always consider the default value as false. But if you want to sort in descending order, you will have to give reverse equals to true, and a list will be sorted in the descending order. Let's quickly try this out, and if done, you can try it out on the other lists as well that you have created, which have all elements of the same type. I see someone has recently joined. So if you have joined and if you're trying it out, you will have to redefine a list. First, you will have to redefine a list, something like this. This is list 3. Just redefine a list. All right, people who are done, I want you to play around with the other lists that you had created. The list with numbers, the list with strings. And if you're done, let's go back to our list 1, which is Bangalore Python 2.1. All right, let me know. I'm assuming that we should be done by now. If not, you will have to let me know. But I'm going to make an assumption that we are done. And we will move on to the next function, which is called as index. Index, as the name suggests, will return the index of an element. So in this case, see, till now, when we were looking at pop function, we were providing the index value to remove an element. Here, what we are going to do is, I'm going to say list1 dot index, and I can say give the actual value. See, you will always have to give some value which is present inside your list. If you do this, and if it's an exact match, I can say that, okay, cool, this is the correct value. If I give, even you can test it out, if you give anything which is not present inside your list, you will get an output that Bangalore is not in a list. So we tested one more thing. Yesterday, I would have said that Python is a case sensitive language. That proves it, because if you use capital B and small b, that is uppercase b and lowercase b, these are two different values. Index is the function that will return the index of an element, and you can get the index of an element that exists inside your object or inside your list. Let's quickly try this out. Index, let me repeat, index is a function that will return the index of an element. We are going to see how do we give an index and get the value of the element at the end. That concept is called as indexing itself, but we will see. If the value does not exist, you will get an error. All right. Similar to this, now we have seen what? Append, we have seen pop, we have seen sort, reverse, we have seen index. Now what I'm going to do is a question that should come into your mind is that when you use append function, what happens is it will always end the element, or it will always append the element at the end. It always adds the element at the end. If you see append 5, I had a list which was still Bangalore, and then it added the element at the end. Similarly, before that, I had the last element in Python. When I do append, it will append an element, that is, add an element at the last index. What if I want to insert an element at a particular index? Let's say what I want to do is I want to insert an index, a value at index 0. So for this, we have a function which is called as insert. Now this function class will take as input 2 parameters. The function insert will take 2 parameters. The first parameter by default is your index value, and the second parameter is the value that you want to input. So let's say I want to input my first value as a number 3.14. Before that, let me print the list 1 so that I can show you what is the difference. You see Bangalore Python 2.1, and now I'm going to say that at my index 0, I want to insert the value 3.14. The moment I do this, and if I print my list 1, you will see that at an index 0, the value will get printed. Similarly, you can print any value at any index. List1 dot insert let's say at index 2, what will be my index 2? 0, 1, 2 in place of Python. What do I want in place of Python? Let's say in place of Python, I want Python to move ahead and I want here to get a number which is, let's say, 10,000. So I will say, or let me put in string. Let me put a string which I will put as Rohit. So the moment I do this, what will happen? In my list 1, you will see that at index 2, a new element has been added, which is Rohit. So 0, 1, 2. Indexing in Python starts with 0. So at index 0, a new element would be added. So with the help of the insert function, you can you can insert an element at a particular index. Let's quickly try this out. Let's quickly try this out. Done? Done? Great. Done. Good. So now see, you remember we would have looked at a function called as pop, which will take as input the index value. Now what happens is a lot of times you don't know the indices. The index value, there are thousands of elements inside your list. How do you know which one to remove? But you know the name of the element. Let's say you want to remove Bangalore, the value Bangalore from this particular list, but you don't know where does it lie inside the list. So you can directly use the function called as Bangalore, and the moment you execute this, again, it is important to see that you should have that value, otherwise you will run into an error. The moment you do this, what you will see is that the value has been removed. Now I might get an error because I have already removed it. So let me clear the output. I had already removed it. So let me clear this output, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to print the list in the next line. So you see that Bangalore has already been removed. So with the help of difference between pop and remove class, difference between pop and remove, pop will remove an element at an index value. You will have to give the index, and remove will actually remove the name of the element. Can we insert element with any data type in the list? Yes. Insertion, see, that's the beauty of list. It does not matter what is the data type. I'll tell you, you can add a list within a list. You can add a list within a list. I will tell you, we will reach there where we will add a list inside a list, but you can add anything within a list, any data type. So immediately after this, we'll take that function, list within a list. It's a good question. Let's quickly try this out. And once the remove part is done, we are going to look at a function called as extend. To understand extend, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, let me know once you're done. Then we will look at your question winner, and we have a very good function to answer your question as well. Let me know once your remove is done. Great. So let me do one thing. List dot append. We already see the list one above. I want everyone please to pay attention to the screen. Now you see that append will always take one element at a time. And let me give that element as a list itself. See, what I'm doing is I'm adding one list as an element at the end of the list one is what I want. This is my list one, 3.14 Rohit Python 2, 1. What I'm doing is I'm adding one more element, which is list. Now, the moment I execute this, what you will see is that the list element, see, when I say element of data type, any data type, list is also a data type. Like we saw when we did type and we gave in round bracket the name of a list or the list variable, it returned back list. It means it's an inbuilt data type. So if you give append and if you try to append a list, the whole list will be appended as the last element. See, the length of this list will still be list one. I have how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We still have 6 elements in this list. But the entire elements have been added. Now what we have is we have a function which is called as extend. Now what does this extend function do? This extend function will flatten out a list and add the individual elements. Sometimes there will be a problem wherein you have two lists and you do not want to add 10, 20, 30 as a list as the last element. What you want to do is you want to add 3 elements. What you want the output as after 1, I should have 10, after 10, comma 20, 20, comma 30. What I need is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 3. I want 8 elements. So in such case, what you have is a function called as append. And if I do list1 dot append, sorry, extend, and if I run the same thing, then exact same output. But at this, after this, you will see that after this, you will see that, see these, oh, I executed it twice. So what will happen is after this, you will see that these elements have been added as individual elements. The list was flattened out and it was added as an individual element. Let me do one thing, list1 dot pop is what I will execute. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I now check my list one, what will be present? This was the original list that I had. If I perform an extend, you see that 10, 20, 30 has been added as my individual flattened out elements. So this means you can append, you can insert, you can add any type of element inside a list. Append will always take one element at a time and insert that element as it is. So if you append a list, it will go as a list and store at the end. If you want to take a list, flatten out its individual elements and add its individual elements, you can always use the function called as extend. All right. Cool. Then after this class, what I'm going to do is let us understand how to access the elements inside a list. Let me create a list. Let me call it list one itself. And I'm going to redefine it as 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. I'm going to add 10 elements to this list. This I'm going to use for my indexing now. Now, if I want to access my first element, that is the element at any specific index, I want everyone to pay attention to what we are going to do. I'm going to give a square bracket, and within that square bracket, I can directly give the index value. So if I give list of 0, list 1 of 0, this will give me the value which is present at my index. If I give list of 9, it will give me the value which is present at the index 9. So by single index number, you can always check what is the index value and you can give that index value and get the actual element which is present at that index value. Now, similarly, there is another concept called as slicing. What is slicing? See, I will tell you what slicing is. Once you see what we are actually doing, you'll understand what I'm trying to do. Now, slicing means that you can take a slice of this list and get multiple elements. See, with the help of this indexing concept, you can get one element at a time. You give the index number, whatever element is present at that index, you will get that element. But let's say I don't want one index. What I want is multiple values. I want values from 10 to 40. So in that case, what I will do, I will use a concept where I can give the start index and I will give the stop index. Now, start index means that I want to start getting elements from that particular index. So let's say 0. And stop index means I should stop just before. So if I want my first 5 elements, that means I'm supposed to stop at index number 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I want elements till index 4, then my stop index should be 5. So what will happen is I will get all the elements from index 0 till 1, 2, 3, 4. And it says the moment you encounter 5, stop. I don't want to print 5. This is exclusive and this is inclusive. So I will get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Similarly, I can give list 1. I can give, let's say, 6 to 9. Okay, or I can give 6 to 10 and I can get the last elements. I can use any number and get any elements which are present in between. Does that make sense? If yes, do you want to quickly try it out? The first indexing is straightforward. Give the index value. Slicing is where within the square bracket after the list name, you give the start index and the stop index. Let's quickly try this out. Your only rule is your start index should always be less than your stop index. Your start index should always be smaller than your stop index. If you give any other thing, you will get an error. Your start index should be less, not even less than equal to, it should be less than your stop index. So I hope the slicing concept is clear. You're getting a slice of the list. Your indexing means you're getting the element at an index. Slicing means you're getting a slice and it can be from any point to any point. But please remember, your stop index always means that that value will not be printed. You will always have one less than that in the slice. Now, one beautiful thing about slicing is, let me print list 1 for your reference here, that if you do not give your start index, let's say, if you do not give your start index, you simply give :5. If you do not provide any start index, by default, Python will understand that you want the start index to be 0. So it means :5 means all elements before the index 5. So the default value when you do not give any start index is 0. Similarly, when you do not give any stop index, Python will understand that you need to go till the end of the list. So on the same lines, if I print list 1 and I do not give any start or stop index, what will happen, class? Can someone tell me what will happen? See, what I've done is I am slicing the list. I say if I do not give the start index, it will take the start index as 0. Similarly, if I do not give the last index, it will take the last index of the list as the last index. So it will go till the end of the list, actually. It will take last plus 1. So if I do not give any start or last index, what will it give? All the elements will be shown perfect. So it means that from 0, you go till the last element. Perfect. Now, since you are already very clear with the slicing concept, what I'm going to tell you is I'll give you 1 minute so that you can try this out. In fact, if you want to play around, try this out in your notebooks. All right. Now, please come back to the screen. Please come back to the screen. Let me print list one for your reference again. Now it's good. You said nice. I could get an element at a particular index. I can get a slice of the elements. But what I need is, let's say, alternate elements. I don't want to see all the elements. I want to create some jumps. Okay, here we have what you do is start, stop, your start index, your stop index, and there's something called as step. Now, by default, when you don't give the step value is 1. But if you give some step value, let's say I say list 1, I want to start with 0. I want to go to, let's say, the last index, and I want every other element. This will give you 10. See what happens here. 2 is known as step. It means the number of jumps you will take or the number of steps that you're going to take. Let's say start from index 0. So you go here 10, you print 10. Then it says that your step is 2. So you go 2 steps ahead. After 10, step 1 is 20, step 2 is 30. So it brings in 30. Have you reached the last element? Have you reached the last element? No. Then from 30, take 2 steps. Step 1 and step 2. You print 50. Have you reached the last element? Is it a stop index? No. Then print 50. 50, go to 70. Have you reached last? No. Print 70. After 90, print 90. Have you reached last? Yes. After 90, when you take 2 steps, you have already reached the last element. So with the help of this step element, you can take alternate elements. You can give a step of 2. You can give a step of 3. You can get every second element, every third element, and so on. Again, class, if I do not give list 1, I can give colon. This will again means by default, my start index is 0. My stop indexes go till the end of my list, and my default is 1. If you do this, again, all your elements will be printed. So let me make a note here in comment somewhere. Default start is 0. Default stop is last index plus 1. And your default step is 1. Is this clear, class? Is this clear? Start, stop, and step. If you have any question, please feel free to ask me. Now, I think you're clear. I'll give you 1 minute to try this out. And then I'm going to show you a very interesting concept. Giving everyone 30 more seconds to try it out if you want to play around and test this code. All right. I want everyone to please come back to the screen. Let me show you one very interesting concept. We are again going to go back to the list and the index concept. So let me say this was my list L1, 10, 20, 30, and so on. So let me add 10 elements. The index for these particular values will be 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Now we have seen that if I want to get at the element at 50, get the element at index 4, I will get 50, right? The element at index 3 is 40 and so on. There is one more way that you can index the value. If you want to start indexing from the last element, let's say you want to go to the last element, you can simply use the index -1. You want to go to the second last element, use -2. Third last element, go to -3, and so on. Right? So in reverse indexing, what happens is you can give negative indexing, and your negative indexing will work as same as your positive indexing. The only thing is it will have the minus sign. So minus the seventh last element. And if you are confused about how to take care, just think. -1 means last, -2 means second last, -3 means third last, and so on. -8, -9, and finally I have -10. So if I say that the last element can also be indexed using -1. Now, how does this become handy? When does this come in handy? It comes in handy when you have a very huge list, and let's say list 1. Okay, list 1, and you say -1. It would give you the last element. Similarly, list 1, -2 gave you the second last element. Now, class, remember that I said your start index should always be less than your stop. Your only thing is that start should be smaller than stop, right? If you want to see last 10 elements, you don't know what is the length of your list. You just have a simple requirement. I want to see the last 10 elements. I can say -10 colon. So it says that you're starting with the 10th last element and go till the end of the list. You will get the last 10 elements. I want to see the last 5 elements. I can give -5, and it will give me the last 5 elements because you're starting with -5. The last is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and you want to go till the last of your value. So last 5 elements, last 10 elements can always be, or the last element. In fact, a lot of developers out there, a lot of data scientists find this to be very useful because they don't want to find the length of the list and then take that from this index to this index is what I want. I can directly say last 5 elements -5 colon, last element -1, whatever be the length of the list. So with the help of this, you can always traverse the list in the reverse order. You can start with -1, go to any point, or just give -10 colon to get the last 10. So generally, I think with practice, this will become very subconsciously in your mind, but last 5 elements, when someone says, you can always use -5 colon, -5 colon. That's the best and the most optimized. Let's quickly make a note of this as well, and let me know if you have any questions. Play around, class. If you are done already, try different indexes, try different slicing. I'll give 30 more seconds for everyone to play around. We learn Python by programming. It's a programming language, so we need to program. Yes, I was hoping someone will ask this question. Great. So, very good. List 1, -5 till 9. See, what happens, Vinay, is that this particular code has given you the value from 5th last index to the last index. Is that right? Till index 9, which is the last element. Yes, I was hoping someone would actually try. Now, what other thing that you can do is you can also say -1. And this is still true. You're going from the 5th last element to the last element. Is that right? Integer, and mathematically speaking, -5 is still less than -1. Do you see? -5 is smaller than -1. On the negative side of the integer line, -5 is smaller, -1 is greater. So still that rule will be applicable. You can give a combination of negative, you can give a combination of positive. The only rule is that the index on your left hand side should be smaller and the index on the right hand side should be greater. -5 to 1, will that work? No, it won't work. It will give you an error. Rather, it won't give you any output. I think you will get an empty list. Yes, because what did you try to do? You tried to traverse from -5. See, from -5, which is 50, you're trying to traverse to element 10. Your slicing will always work left to right. Okay, you can always take an element which is on the left hand side and slice till the right hand side of the element. Reverse does not work in Python. Yep. Great, great. I'm so happy that someone tried this out. Nice. All right. With that, class, we have completed lists. We have completed lists. And before we call it a day, I would quickly want you to take you through tuples, sets, and dictionary. I think today we do not have that much time. We spent a lot of time on lists. But I am going at a pace so that everyone is comfortable. Slowly, we will increase the pace. All right. Now, tuples is something which in Python is immutable. What is the actual meaning of immutable? I will tell you with respect to Python memory, what inside happens inside the Python memory in the next session once we complete section dictionary as well. But as of now, consider immutable means you cannot change this object. You cannot modify this object. See, we can modify a list, we can add values, we can remove values, we can reverse it, sort it, do anything that we want. But in case of a tuple, you cannot change any values. The other thing that you need to remember is tuple is always defined in round brackets. So let us define our first tuple, tuple 1, and I'm going to simply say 10, 20, 30. Right? If you check, let us type the tuple. We will go ahead with our normal codes. First thing that we will do, we will check the type. The type of tuple 1 should give you tuple. It does. Length will give you the number of elements inside your tuple 1. It does. And then what you can do is tuple dot, you can get the index of an element. Let's say I give 10. You will get the index for tuple objects does not apply to the integer object. Okay. Then in tuple 1 dot index. So it will give that the element at index 10 is present at index 0. And what I can do is tuple 1, again, I can check the same thing, 1, 2, indexing. The indexing will stay same. Now going forward, indexing, the concepts of indexing are going to stay same. What we see in list, the same thing will be applicable to your data frames. But yes, so these are the only 4 things that you can do with a list. You can check what is the type, you can check the number of elements, you can check what are the indices of the different elements, and you can check what values are present at different index. But you cannot modify a list. You cannot insert, you cannot remove, you cannot change, you cannot delete, you can't do anything. So tuple is basically same. It's a collection of objects. It can contain elements of different data types. It is defined inside round brackets. But once you define a tuple, you cannot change it. There is no function available to modify this. So whenever you have objects, so in future, maybe you are going to store objects such as people's phone number or UIDs, Aadhaar card number, PAN number, these things which you do not want to change. So in such cases, you define them inside a tuple so that no one will be able to modify it as it does not have any functions to be modified. Let's quickly try this out as well, class. Let's quickly try this out. So tuples are immutable data types. They are defined in round brackets. Once you define a tuple, you cannot change, you cannot insert any element inside a tuple, you cannot remove any element from a tuple, you cannot sort it, you cannot reverse the tuple. It stays intact, it stays as it is. The only thing that you can do is you can check the total number of elements which are present inside the tuple. As we have seen, length is a universal function. It's applicable on all data types. For string, it used to give us the total number of characters in a string. In lists and in tuples, it's giving the total number of elements which are present inside the tuple. The only function that is available is kind of a read function that will tell you that what are the different indexes for the element that you have given. You see 10, it will give you the element 10 is present at index 0. Similar to list, you can also apply your indexing and slicing function here. You will get the elements, but the tuple 1, whatever you do, it won't change. It's a very stubborn data type, and that is why it's called as immutable. Let's quickly try this out, class. I spent decent amount of time on list because list is interesting. It's mutable. Once you have something that can be modified, and specifically the indexing and slicing, which is going to be applicable to all the data types. That's why we spend some time. Tuples are straightforward, immutable. So we will only have these 4 things. We can't change. That's right, Subhash. All right, class, with that, we have completed our session. I do not want to start with sets because I'll need at least 10 minutes to complete sets and another 10 minutes to complete dictionary. 15 to 20 more minutes would be required, but we are already, I think, at 10:30, which is our stipulated time. So with that, I'll call it a day. I hope you enjoyed your session. I hope, more importantly, that you learned a few things, both in terms of concepts and with the help of hands-on. I think our next session is scheduled on 30th July, Tuesday. So on Tuesday, we will continue with sets and dictionaries, and then we will move on to control structures and functions. All right, with that, I'll give 1 minute to anyone who has any question. If not, feel free to drop off and I'll send this notebook to your admin so that he can load it wherever he said he wants to load it somewhere, so he can upload it at a place. All right, with that, thank you everyone. Good night and have a great week ahead. Let me know, I'm still here if you have any questions or if you want to see any code. If no, feel free to drop off. All right, I see. Thank you coming in. So, all right. Thank you, everyone. Then let me end the session for the day. Thank you, everyone. I'll also drop off. Vinay, the idea of a tuple is that it is immutable. It cannot be modified. So that is why you cannot change elements in a tuple. Once created, tuple cannot be modified. That's why we call it as immutable. You cannot change elements. We can change in list, but not in tuple. That's right. List is something which is created to play around. Tuple is the entire concept of having a tuple is that it's not changeable. The elements cannot be changed. That's why we have a data type, which is very similar to list. It can have any elements with any data type, but once you create it, it cannot be modified. All right. Any other questions? If no, class, I know that it's already pretty late. Feel free to drop off. Thank you, everyone, and good night once again. I'm going to close the session.